Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Update, Gaia Daily for May 22nd, 23rd, 2020. How are you doing? Well, happy Gemini new moon. We're just coming up in a couple of hours to the exact time of the Gemini new moon. So that means we have the moon has joined the sun in Gemini. And we've got Mercury and Venus retrograde together with Mercury in a square with Neptune. Really powerful energy. Now, we also have the North Node in Gemini. So, wow, massive amount of Gemini energy. And the thing about Gemini is that it's a little bit all over the place, considering options and trying to figure things out. And yet Neptune in square to Neptune with Mercury and Venus, Neptune in Pisces is about this like bigger spiritual soup of oneness principle, but also delusions. And so here we have like all of this mental energy in trying to figure out our reality. And then like the Neptune in Pisces is like, there's no figuring anything out, So this Venus retrograde and Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, together in square to Neptune is really intense. And I wanted to just speak to this I'm just sensing in these soul groups, this huge blooming of stuff that you thought you had dealt with in a way, like say your sensitivity to collective energy. This is really blooming huge right now because the constructs, the house we've built, that humanity has built of its compensations to just get through life and live life in this current situation, and the very uncertainty and the inability to face these layers of untruth or things that just don't make sense. And the deep, intense, uncomfortable feeling, the collective consciousness. And even though that's not your story, like you have a sense because of everything you've gone through of the greater, wider spiritual truth. But I just feel like these souls are being really pulled down into that soup right now because of this astrology. But this new moon is a turning point. Now, the turning point might be one big, very big turning point, and that's kind of the point here. It's like the feeling is like the tide has gone out. Like all of your dreams, what you thought you were going to do, all your plans, like all of these practical ways that, and just in general, humanity, all of like who they thought they were and everything, it's like washed out to sea, and in this very uncomfortable place. But you've already gone through this, right? Like you already know who you are. I mean, you don't know who you are, but you know who you're not. And so, but the loyalty contracts, ancestral contracts, collective energy contracts, like this is a big issue with these soul groups is that you're typically very sensitive to collective energy. This has to do with feelings of responsibility to Earth evolution. And that's at an all-time high, like way bloom. Like even there was a whole bunch of fear energy, when this crisis first started. And the fear is still there, but it's just this like, it's more like this deep, uncomfortable feeling of losing those constructs of how we kind of, the framework of our reality and the framework, the plans, and it's like our house is falling down, right? And humanity's house is falling down. And your house has been falling down for a while, right? But it's really important right now. The message is like, you're probably feeling this. If you're going into, so I'm seeing a massive bloom of collective trauma coming to the surface, and these souls being very sucked back into the loyalty contracts that you thought you had like separated. You thought you were kind of, had allowed yourself to be in a different vibration. But this is a big challenge. This is a big bloom of that stuff. There's also ancestral energies, ancestral monster energies, like blooming up, just kind of like tentacly, come back into, this is the deal with our ancestral contracts. It's like our ancestries have patterns passed down through generations, disease, literal disease, and also, psychological. It all goes together, right? These get stronger with each generation, and it becomes like an identity construct. And the loyalty contract for you souls is like, oh, if you're going to get a body in our lineage, then you're going to take on our family monster. This is just the deal. And you've been working to extricate yourself from this monster, and the monster is like rearing its ugly head, coming back to get you, And what this is like some very, very dark energies that are trying to cleanse out from our collective consciousness. And so it looks very dark on the surface, right? It looks very dark. It looks very hopeless. It looks like the tide has gone completely out. But the thing is that and we know that tides turn and energy shift, and it's all moving, right? Part of the whole control energy, matrix energy on our reality has been to hold back the change, hold back the evolution, hold back the growth, hold back it all, right? And we're in this like tentacly battle on an energetic level. And of course, we know it's our job to feel good and to hold our vibration, but it's really a challenge right now. And just be okay with that, Like I just see a lot of these souls like going way back into old patterns, way sucked back into the soup, and then beating themselves up for it, So it's like really important to just understand that this is the place we're in. But this Gemini new moon is a turning point. It's like, yeah, you know what? Life keeps going on. And what we're seeing is actually a cleansing of these deep suppressed hidden patterns that have gone on for centuries. They're coming to the surface. But the energy is like, oh my God, we're just going to be here forever, right? Now that has to do with the Venus retrograde. And so this turning point might be through the whole Venus retrograde. But this Gemini new moon can at least maybe break the chains for these souls of like recognizing. I just feel like this, I was kind of like told that this information is just very important for you to say, oh, what if for just a moment you could set aside everything that's not yours as far as like the collective, your family. There's also, because Venus retrograde, old relationship stuff coming up, that old toxic pattern, and those people coming back and like wanting to hook back in to you as a source. So that's going on, And so this is what's coming up is the trauma body, the collective trauma body, your own trauma body, and then those love relationships that were actually trauma bonds. Like a lot of the love relationships, family and love relationships for these souls are actually trauma bonds. And that's what you think is love. And so those are coming up huge, right? And the trauma bond, the whole point of it is to knock you back down into trauma energy. And so the picture is just like, okay, what if this is just like this ill-fitting suit you're wearing, like this big, it's so funny because every time you look at the news, it's like hazmat suits. And it's like, wait a minute, you guys, the death rate is less than the flu. It's not even contagious through surfaces, they're telling us now. And what's up with the hazmat suit? And every picture has an injection. Like it's like they're just programming us. Like the only way to be safe is to get an injection, right? And maybe this is why these soul groups are feeling like, oh my God, it's just a bloom of feeling like, what am I doing on this planet? Like I have been trying to show up, like doing your work, like doing your healing, being true to who you are, like clearing your shadow, like healing the trauma, trying to heal your whole ancestry's trauma and the whole earth, humanity. And it's kind of like up in arms, right? It's like, okay, when are you coming to take me home? But that's how they want us to feel. They want us to go back into that trauma place, keep creating from that trauma place, and think that that's reality and that we're losing, right? But take the hazmat suit, right? Take the trauma body. And maybe you're wearing thousands of souls of traumas, right? And your whole ancestry. And you got like a big blooming of ancestral. This Pisces energy is like Neptune Pisces square. There's a beautiful energy of pushing through into that true spiritual truth. Like that's kind of where we need to go, right? That's our only choice. That's the only place we can go from here. But there's also like a blooming of ancestral stuff, like ghosts from your family, right? That are being disrupted by this a cleansing process. And just remember that, right? So this is a cleansing process. We've got a healing crisis, and the hazmat suit is your way of protecting yourself. It's also like these souls have kind of bought into the way they help and their role and their mission. This is the Piscean age distortion, is to take on the trauma body. And this is like, you are that big of a soul. You can take on thousands of souls of trauma, but is that what you're here for? Like your big star self to be a garbage collector? And that's what's on the table right now. So it's just like it's interesting because it's so emotional and just horrible feelings. But the Gemini energy can help us in a way, be like, wait a minute. I know that this isn't real, right? And then what if you can just not even get rid of the hazmat? Don't worry too much. It's just be easy on yourself right now, but just take the hazmat suit and put it aside for just a second, right? And just see like, oh, that's not me. It's not mine. That's not my job. It's not my reality. Yes, it makes sense. I've taken it all on. But just for a few minutes, can you set that aside? And then it's like this turning point energy, which, like I said, we're in a huge turning point, and it could be until the end of the Venus retrograde, which is June 25th, or maybe the end of July, where the third Venus square Neptune happens, right? But we are in a turning point. The tides are turning. What goes out must come back in. And the life force that moves all is more powerful than all of the stories, So we're kind of being asked on this Gemini new moon to tap into that and this bigger, wider trust of what's happening, and just, it's like, take the hazmat suit off and just like set it over here for a few minutes and just reorient yourself to that greater spiritual energy. Like this is who you are as a soul. Like the reason why you're taking all that garbage on is because you came here to help and you want to be a part of the positive, right? But that exact energy of devotion to humanity and this evolution has gotten you into the garbage, and a big thing that's going on is that our whole reality is based on lies. And it's starting to get so uncomfortable, like this is the collective garbage. It's getting really, really uncomfortable. You can stay in your cognitive dissonance, or you can face some greater, wider truths. But either way, it's very uncomfortable. The cognitive dissonance has been comfortable for the masses, but it's no longer comfortable, and it's just this like, just this it feels like cement, slow process, but really energetically what's happening is really fast. Like there's so much energetic changes happen, but we're just in this like trying to adjust in that soup, and that's where you have to adjust your role. Is it to wade around in the mud? So this is the energy. It's like wallowing, right? And is that what you're here for? Or are you here to tap into the life force, the healing force, the equilibrium, the great source of all that brings all back into balance eventually? And like, what happens when these soul groups put their energy there? Let the hazmat suit be there, right? And then put your energy on this great life force. And so yeah, really potent and powerful energy. And again, it's one of those times of like just the the tension of the collective energy is like physical pain for a lot of these souls. So just keep that in mind. It's just it's a blooming and it's just an opportunity to reaffirm who you are but it's like a cellular thing, right? And know that the tide is completely out right now, but it's going to come back in. And maybe it's going to come back in with like blessings beyond what you could imagine. There's all this energy around um, powerful technological things, beautiful things to support humanity that have been kept from us that are just around the corner, coming in and make just this magical, beautiful gifts of everything what you're making room for in your life, right? But the tide is out right now. It feels like it's going to be out forever. And it's like, okay, am I even living? Am I dead? What's going on? Right. And it's just like part of being in the shift of ages and part of being here to lead the shift of ages. And you've done it before. So anyway, and don't forget that a lot of these soul groups are feeling completely alone on the journey right now. That's another paradigm. I'm seeing it like as a very deliberate, like box quarantine. That energy is coming up again of like completely making these souls feel like they're the only person in the whole universe, and it's not true at all. Every day I work with these souls in like this soul group, and you guys are your soul group is all working through the very same issues, and they're right there next to you. But this massive programming and the collective bloom and this like just garbagey place we're in right now, it's just a lot to sort through. So be patient with yourself, keep up with your radical self-care, and know that like a lot of what you're feeling isn't your own. And that actually validates the type of soul you are. That if you could take on all that collective garbage of thousands of souls, your whole ancestry, then you actually have power in your soul, strength of what you've accumulated in your gifts and skills over many lifetimes to positively affect the collective once you give yourself permission to get out of the soup. So let's do that together. Maybe you'll consider joining just in an hour or two. Got this Gemini new moon activation. Come together, bring our collective consciousness. Even if you can't join or you can't be a part of it energetically, you can put your energy and intention on your group and just connect vibrationally. It's available for everyone, this energy. So I look forward to seeing you there or on the next update. And I look forward to, this energy is going to be through the weekend, through Sunday, and with that Mercury, Venus square Neptune. And then we'll see what's up after that. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.